I knew something was off the second I opened my eyes. The bed was cold. Melissa's side, empty. No shower running. No smell of coffee. Just quiet. That kind of quiet that lets you know the storm already passed and you slept right through it. I sat up, joints cracking like old wood. The first thing I saw was my phone screen blinking. 5 missed calls from the bank, 2 fraud alerts, and a text from Visa saying my card was declined at a jewelry store in Tampa. My gut tightened. Not because I was surprised. Hell no. I'd seen it coming. This was just the confirmation. My name's Rick Carver. I'm 58 years old. I live just outside Augusta, Georgia, in a rusted-out ranch house that's older than my career. I've been a tax investigator for the Georgia Department of Revenue for 30 years. Numbers don't lie. People do. And Melissa, she'd been lying since the day I met her. Quick note, before listening, share which city or country you're watching from. I swung my legs over the side of the bed and stood up slowly. Old knees, old house, same morning routine. Except this time, everything was different. I walked into the kitchen, and there it was. One of those cheap magnet notepads on the fridge. Her handwriting was neat, like always. I never loved you. Don't look for me. No signature, just that. Short and sharp, like a knife between the ribs. I didn't say a word. Just stared at it. Then I opened the drawer next to the sink, the one she never touched, and pulled out the beat-up manila folder I'd labeled Plan B. I've been tracing paper trails since I was 25, watching for inconsistencies. You grow up watching your dad get bled dry by a loan shark. You either learn to fight with fists or files. I chose the second. I flipped open the folder. Inside, bank statements, printed texts, screenshots of flight confirmations, her whole side hustle mapped out like a damn audit. I'd started collecting it back in July, just waited for her to make the first big move. Guess today was the day. I grabbed my prepaid burner off the counter, buzzing again. Same number, unknown caller. Probably the card company or maybe the feds flagging the accounts. Didn't matter. I'd been ready. I took a sip of black coffee, stale and bitter, and opened the laptop. It was time to finish what she started. The first flag went up 3 months ago, middle of July. I remember because it was the week I'd fixed the busted well pump, and Melissa suddenly started taking walks at 9 o'clock at night. We live off a dirt road outside Augusta. Ain't no sidewalks, no streetlights, just bugs, coyotes, and the kind of quiet that echoes. I asked her once, casual, "Where are you headed?" She smiled like I was a damn child. "Just need fresh air, Rick." Next night, she was out again. This time with lipstick on and no Fitbit. I didn't push. I observed. Then came the questions. Innocent at first. "Hey, what's the name of your pension again? You ever list me as your life insurance beneficiary? What happens if there's an accident, like at work?" She tossed them out between bites of dinner or folding towels like they were nothing. But I've built my whole life reading behind the lines. And Melissa had never once asked about my job in all 12 years we'd been married. So I started moving. Quietly opened a new account under my brother Kenny's name. Shifted half the house funds into it. Made sure the titles to the car and property had my name solo. She'd never notice. She was too busy planning her exit. I checked the bank app one night after she'd gone to bed. Found a charge at a seafood place in Savannah. We hadn't been to Savannah since 2019. Next day, a hotel in Macon. A week later, a Tiffany's charge out of Tampa. None of it had my name on it. That's when I cloned her phone. Took me 20 minutes. Used an old burner and a SIM copier I'd confiscated off a tax fraud case years back. She'd never know. Every text, every call, every GPS ping, it all came straight to me. What I saw? I wasn't married to a bored housewife looking for thrills. I was married to a goddamn criminal. She had a whole second life. New contacts. One labeled V, she messaged constantly. Vince. A fake brother, she said once in passing. I found wire transfers under fake names, payout charts, insurance policy drafts. She'd even downloaded a template for a fake power of attorney form. And the craziest part? She was keeping tabs on me, notes on my routine, meetings, times I left the office, client names. It was like watching a lion circle its prey, and I was the one grazing in the field. But I didn't flinch. I didn't let on. I grilled ribs on Sundays like always, played poker with my guys every other Friday, sat next to her in the pew, sang hymns with her hand resting on my knee. Then I'd go home, open the laptop, and add another line to the spreadsheet. I tracked every fake name, every transaction, every lie. I added timestamps, cross-referenced calls, linked emails to IPs. By mid-August, I had enough to get a federal case started if I wanted to. But I wasn't ready yet. She thought I was blind. She thought she had the upper hand. That's what made it work. The trick was making her believe she was winning. One night, she stood at the kitchen counter, sipping wine, laughing at something Vince had texted. She didn't even look up when I walked in. Just said, "You smell like smoke. Burn the burgers again?" I smiled back. Only the first two. She turned her head slightly, just enough to give me that sideways smirk she used when she thought she had me wrapped. I wanted to grab the bottle and shatter it against the tile. Instead, I opened the fridge, grabbed a beer, and added one more charge to the list in my head. That night after she went to bed, I headed out to the garage. The air was thick with dust and old motor oil, and the single overhead bulb flickered like it was scared to stay on. That space had been my workshop for years, but from that point on, it was my war room. I started building my case like I would any audit, step by step. I cataloged every transaction, noted every alias, and locked down what was left of our joint assets. I encrypted the whole file system and copied it to a small flash drive, tied it to a thin chain, and slipped it under my shirt. If she ever found the laptop, she'd get nothing but decoys. At work, I started pulling favors. I didn't go through official channels. Too many eyes, too many questions. I called in markers with old field agents, used my credentials to access cross-state data that wasn't supposed to be shared. If she had a trail, I was going to find it, and I did. 2 complaints in the state database popped up, both filed years apart, both tied to a woman named M. Carson. My gut flipped. Melissa's maiden name was Carson, but she never mentioned an M in the middle. Still, the details matched too close to be coincidence. Different towns, different aliases, but same pattern. Empty bank accounts, vanished woman. I traced one claim to a retired auditor in Chattanooga, guy named Daryl Henson. I called him on my lunch break, half expecting a dead number. He picked up on the second ring, rough voice, smoker's tone. "Yeah, who's this?" "My name's Rick Carver. I work for the Georgia Department of Revenue. I think we've got a mutual problem." Name ring a bell, Melissa Carson. There was a long pause. Then a quiet laugh. "You mean Melanie Carson?" "Yeah, she's real good at disappearing." We talked for an hour. Turns out she drained his retirement, every dime of it, then ghosted. Used a fake brother named Vince as her so-called business partner. Same one I'd seen on her phone. Daryl had tried filing charges, but the cops called it a civil matter. No one followed through. He told me she'd run the same scam twice before him. Same setup. Flirt, invest, vanish. "Let me guess," he said. "She started asking about your insurance?" "Yeah, then you're next on the list, man." I stared at the notes scattered across my desk. The photo of her laughing in Savannah. The jewelry receipt. It all lined up like clockwork. This wasn't just betrayal. It was organized theft. I asked Daryl to send over everything he had. He did. PDFs, scan checks, even a photo of her with short hair, fake name tag that read Melanie Kane. The timestamp on it was 2 years before I met her. For a second, I just sat there, looking at the picture. She looked happy, genuinely happy, like someone proud of their work. I felt my pulse slow, then harden. All the Sunday dinners, the small talk, the I love yous, none of it was real. She was studying me. Every word she ever said was an angle. I spent the next 2 nights cross-referencing data, built a timeline of her movements, tied every alias she'd ever used to a city, a victim, a transaction. Daryl and I kept trading files, comparing gaps. When the map was done, it looked like a spider web stretching across 4 states, with Melissa dead center. So, I prepped the trap. I bought a cheap burner laptop and loaded it with fake files, bogus bank statements, draft wire transfers, phony tax IDs. Then, I made one folder labeled Crypto Wallets. It looked real enough to tempt anyone sniffing around my stuff. I locked the garage door, sat back, and took a long breath. For the first time, the fear was gone. She wasn't a mystery anymore. She was a mark, and I was done playing defense. I picked up the flash drive, tucked it under my shirt, and powered off the lights. I was finishing my second cup of coffee the next morning when my phone buzzed. Unknown number. I almost ignored it until I saw the message. "Can we talk?" I messed up. It was her. I stared at the screen for a long minute, then typed back, "Where?" She sent an address, Henderson's Diner, out on Highway 25. The kind of place truckers stop for pie and locals pretend not to see each other. I didn't ask questions, just replied, 1 hour. I grabbed my Plan B folder, the one stacked with photos, account printouts, and those mugshots Daryl had sent, slipped it inside my coat pocket. The flash drive stayed under my shirt, like always. The diner sat between 2 gas stations, all neon signs and faded paint. The bell over the door jingled when I walked in. Smelled like bacon grease and burned coffee. I picked the booth in the back where I could see both exits. 10 minutes later, she pulled up in a silver Lexus. New model, temporary plate. I watched her through the window, adjusting her hair in the rearview mirror. She stepped out in jeans and a plain gray sweater. The picture of humility. A role she'd practiced before. She slid into the booth across from me. Eyes watery, voice soft. "Rick, I didn't know where else to go. I kept my hands on the table. You found me easy enough." She looked down, twisting a napkin between her fingers. "I made some bad investments. Thought I could fix things. But it got out of control. I didn't say a word. I just need a little help to get back on my feet," she went on. 15,000? I'll pay it back, I swear." 15,000? I said, leaning back. "You sure that'll cover all your debts?" Her lip trembled, but her eyes didn't match the act. They flicked to my coat pocket. She was still looking for the angle. I reached in, pulled out the manila folder, and slid it across the table. "Take a look. Might jog your memory." She hesitated, then opened it. The first page was a printout of her fake IDs. Next came the bank transfers, and finally, the mugshot of her brother, Vince. Her hands froze mid-turn. The color drained from her face. "What is this?" she whispered. "It's you," I said flatly. "Every name, every scam, every man you bled dry." She laughed once, thin, shaky. "You think you know what's going on? You don't. Vince, he's dangerous, Rick. He made me do things. Cut it out." I leaned forward. "I've seen this movie already. You wrote the script." Her shoulders slumped, but the tears came anyway. On cue. "Please, Rick, you don't understand. If I don't pay him..." The bell over the door jingled again. 2 men in suits walked in. Clean cut. No nonsense. They moved straight toward us. One flashed a badge. "Melanie Carson," the taller one said. Her head jerked up. "What? We'd like a word, ma'am." Her face went pale. She looked at me, realization dawning that I wasn't bluffing anymore. "You set me up," she hissed. "No," I said. "You did that yourself." She stood, hands trembling, and the agents led her outside for questioning. She wasn't cuffed, not yet, but she knew it was over. When the door shut behind them, the diner went dead quiet. I gathered my folder, folded the napkin she'd shredded, and dropped it on her side of the table. Then I walked out into the sunlight without looking back. I got home and locked the door behind me. Didn't even take off my coat, just walked straight to the garage and opened the laptop. First thing I did was update the spreadsheet. Added the time of meeting, the agent names, location, Henderson's Diner, 3:22 p.m. Then I scanned the folder back in and attached it to an email. Subject line, confirmed apprehension, Melanie Carson. Sent it straight to my contact at the Attorney General's office. 10 minutes later, the prepaid buzzed. It was Daryl. "She's got another one," he said, voice tight. "Just got a call from a guy down in Pensacola. He's looking for answers." "Give me his number," I said. I called him right away. Name was Ron Dillard, voice shaking like a leaf in a storm. "She told me her name was Mandy," he said. "Said she had an uncle in finance. Talked me into giving her access to my accounts. Now my retirement's gone." "Did she mention a brother?" I asked. "Yeah, Vince. Said he ran some offshore trust or something." Same damn story. Different city, different sucker. I added Ron's info to the file, mapped the dates, and plugged the wire routes into my trace software. Same routing bank. Same withdrawal patterns. She didn't even bother to switch up the playbook. Then Daryl texted again. "Got a name. Vince Byers Ellis Kane. Look him up." I did, and my stomach dropped. Ellis Kane, real name, real record. Convicted felon from Newark, New Jersey. 2 stints for fraud, 1 for aggravated assault. Known associate of an extortion crew back in the early 2000s. Multiple reports of intimidation. Men who said he showed up at their doors, made threats, vanished after the money cleared. He wasn't Melissa's brother. He was her enforcer. I sat there in the dim light of that garage, trying to stay calm while everything inside me flipped. Every time she rubbed my shoulders, she was checking the vault. Every "I'm proud of you" was a setup. She'd been planning to use my credentials, open accounts, fake an investment firm under my license, steal from my clients with my signature, turn me into the fall guy when it all burned down. I didn't scream. I didn't break anything. That would have meant giving her something she didn't earn. I just opened the master file, typed in the name, Ellis Kane, marked his status, confirmed accomplice, tied him to all 3 victims. Then I clicked save and backed it up to the drive around my neck. This wasn't about the money anymore. That was just the bait. This was about shutting her down, her and anyone tied to her, for good. I cracked open the burner phone and pulled up the GPS tracker I'd installed 2 weeks ago, just to be sure. Ellis's signal had just popped up again, only this time, it was in my county. The next morning, my phone woke me up with a buzz I didn't like. Not a call, not a spam text, just an image. It was my truck, parked in the driveway, taken from the road, like someone had been sitting there watching. Another buzz. My nephew's school, same angle, then one more. A shot straight through my bedroom window, taken in the dark, my silhouette clear in the frame. Then the message came through. "Back off. You don't know who you're dealing with." I sat up, grabbed the flash drive from under my shirt, and put it around my neck like armor. Then I hit speed dial. "Dawson," I said when my handler at the Attorney General's office picked up. "I just got threatened, directly. Text, photos, my house, family, one of me through the window." He didn't pause. "Forward everything. We'll trace the IP." While he ran it, I checked the perimeter cameras. Nothing out of place. Whoever it was, they knew where the blind spots were. Then Dawson called back. IP bounced through 3 states, but last trace leads back to a known alias tied to Ellis Kane. "You're hot now, Rick." "Yeah," I said, pulling out the burner laptop. And they just made their last mistake. That afternoon, I packed up my core drives, dropped them off at a lockbox in my brother Kenny's garage. House stayed dark. I left a car parked out front to make it look like I was still home. But I bunked 2 houses down with a neighbor who owed me a favor. I sat on his porch with binoculars and a black mug full of gas station coffee. Around 11:45, my second system, buried in the attic, pinged. Someone was in. They'd breached the burner laptop. Started downloading files off the decoy folder. Crypto wallets, offshore codes, Panama transfers. I dialed Daryl. "It's go time." He patched the call straight to Dawson. They were already nearby. I watched through the side window as a black SUV crept down the street, lights off. Then another car eased in behind it. They parked a few houses down and went in on foot. 12:08, the signal inside my house went wild. Multiple devices connected. I saw the phone IDs. One was Melissa's, the other one registered to a burner tied to Kane's last known alias. That was all the feds needed. 2 agents came through the back. 2 more took the front. I couldn't see much from where I was, but I heard it. The sharp thump of a door kicked in. The yelling, "FBI! Hands up! Get on the ground! Don't move!" Then came the scream. High and raw, it was Melissa. Seconds later, another voice. Male, low, and furious. Yelled something I couldn't make out. Then a thud. A scuffle. Dawson's voice rang out over the radio. "Target 1 detained. Target 2 resisting. Repeat. Target 2 resisting." I stood up and stepped off the porch, just far enough to see 2 agents dragging Melissa out in cuffs. Her eyes found me across the yard. Even in the porch light, I saw the hate. "You think you won?" she yelled. "You think this fixes it?" Behind her, Kane was on the ground, face in the grass, 3 agents holding him down. His lip was bleeding. She thrashed once, almost broke free. "You'll pay for this, Rick." I sipped my coffee, didn't blink. "You brought this on yourselves." A few weeks later, I sat on the hard wooden bench in courtroom 2B, 3rd row from the front. The air was cold and dry, buzzing faintly from the overhead fluorescence. Melissa sat about 15 feet away in an orange jumpsuit, hands cuffed at the waist. She wouldn't look at me. The judge called it down like it was routine. "Melissa Carson, aka Melanie Kane, you are hereby sentenced to 18 years in federal prison with no possibility of parole." No gasp, no drama. She blinked once, swallowed hard, and stared straight ahead. Ella sat beside her, wrists shackled, same dead eyes as always. His charges hit different. Conspiracy, intimidation, aiding in financial fraud. "Ellis Kane," the judge said, "you are sentenced to 12 years. He didn't flinch, just leaned back in his chair like the whole thing was boring him. Then the testimonies started. One by one, the men she'd scammed stood up. Some shook, some stuttered. Most kept their eyes on the floor. One guy from Alabama said he lost everything: savings, house, marriage. Another from Tennessee admitted he almost took his own life. Each one gave a piece of her puzzle. Each one had seen a different version of her. Mandy, Mel, Michelle. She was whoever they needed her to be. I was the last to speak. I walked to the podium slow, paper in hand. I didn't need it, but I brought it anyway. "My name is Rick Carver. I work for the Georgia Department of Revenue. I know a thing or two about liars." I glanced at her. Still no eye contact. She didn't just take money. She took time. Years I'll never get back. She sat on my porch, asked about my coworkers like she cared. It was just research. The room was silent. But I got it back. Not the money, the time, because I never stopped paying attention. I followed the paper. I followed her lies. And I wasn't the only one. I folded the paper, nodded to the judge, and stepped down. Outside the courthouse, the sun was too bright. I pulled off my jacket, loosened my collar, felt lighter than I had in years. A man in a navy suit approached, badge clipped to his belt. He held out a hand. "Name's Porter, Department of Justice. We've been tracking Melissa for a while, but you finished the job." I shook his hand. "We're building out a consulting program," he continued. "Financial fraud specialists, real field experience. Guys like you could make a difference." I squinted at him. "You offering me a desk job?" He laughed. "Nothing behind a desk, real work. You'll chase predators, not paperwork." "I'll think about it." "Do that," he said, handing me a card. "We could use someone who knows how to read between the numbers." He turned and walked off, disappearing into a crowd of reporters in federal suits. I stood there a minute longer, card in hand, then slid it into my wallet. I left the courthouse and didn't go back to the old house. Sold it within the month. Too many ghosts in the drywall. Now I'm in a quiet place near Lake Thurmond, north of Augusta. One bedroom cabin with a tin roof and a screened-in porch that faces the water. No locks on the bedroom closet, no secrets stuffed in kitchen drawers. Just stillness. I still talk to Daryl once a week. We don't do small talk, just updates. He's got a nonprofit up and running now, helping men scammed in romance fraud cases. Says most of them are too ashamed to even report it. We're changing that. I built the first version of the database myself. Took 2 weeks. Every known alias Melissa ever used. Every transaction, wire, and fake ID I had records for. Mapped it all out. City, date, victim, tactic. We called it Project Ledger. Feds took one look and said it was the cleanest package they'd seen in years. I handed it off without blinking. Let them run with it. Then, a few days ago, my phone buzzed. Unfamiliar number. I almost ignored it until I saw the voicemail. Woman's voice. Nervous. Said her name was Janet. Her dad had just passed. When she started sorting his finances, she found a drained retirement account, weird withdrawals, and my name listed as financial advisor on the paperwork. Only problem? I'd never met the man. She sent over the files. I opened them, and there it was, my old signature, forged clean, slapped on a fake document with Melissa's handwriting all over it. I didn't hesitate. Forwarded everything to Porter at DOJ with a one-line message. Let's add one more charge. Then I grabbed my coffee and headed down to the dock. Late fall sun, crisp air, water flat as glass. I stood at the edge for a while, just watching the ripples. I thought about my dad, sitting at the kitchen table in '78, counting coins after a lone shark cleaned him out. I remembered the way he looked, silent, embarrassed, beaten, like a man who couldn't protect what was his. But this time, this story ended different. Melissa wasn't slipping through the cracks. She wasn't changing her name and disappearing. Not again. She got caught. Her partner, too. They tried to play me, and I played them right back. I dropped a line in the water, let the reel click out slow. Justice came through, not fast, not loud, but solid. And for the first time in a long damn while, I felt clean.